they will have a national unity crisis on their hands at the same time as having a crisis with our U.S. trade partners. We just won't stand for that. And I don't think Ontarians and Quebec should stand for that as well. They shouldn't be standing by and listening while a federal minister talks about cutting off their energy supply. That's just not on. That makes no sense.
But essentially, I had to ask myself two questions. The first one is, am I ready to be the first woman to lead the Liberal Party of Canada? And the answer is yes. And am I ready, at the same time, to step away from my responsibilities as Minister of Foreign Affairs at a time where it is a crucial time in the Canada-US relationship? And the answer is no. And the reality is I can't do both.
In the ever-evolving landscape of Canadian politics, a critical question has emerged. Is Canada on the brink of a national unity crisis? Recent events suggest that the country's political dynamics may be steering it toward a tipping point. At the heart of this unfolding drama is Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, whose controversial strategies have sparked widespread criticism. In today's video, we'll be diving into the heated political drama surrounding Melanie Joly and why her position might be in jeopardy. Stick around as we break down the key developments and what they could mean for both figures moving.
I was really torn about this decision because, to be frank, I think that our chances were really, really high. But the reality is I'm foreign minister at a time that is crucial in our history, and Canadians are anxious when they hear President-elect Trump saying and restating again his threats and his also entire rhetoric regarding the 51st state. So I decided to put my country first, and I decided to do my job.
Hey, quick favor before we move on. If you find this political content interesting, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Most of you watch without subscribing, and it's free, but it helps us out so much. Have you done it yet? Thanks a ton for the support. Now, let's get back to the video.
Well, that is something that we talked about today, and there's more conversation to be had on the kind of supports that we can put in place through the federal government and in partnership with the provinces to support New Brunswickers and Canadians who might see their jobs impacted or their companies impacted. And so we have to look at the impact that could have on our economy, that kind of loss of jobs and work, and how we best support it as we would do during any other time. I think the kind of package that was put together and proposed by the federal government is strong, is strategic, it's focused on how we can inject the most pain to the targeted Americans.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, however, stands as a formidable opponent, defending provincial autonomy and pushing back against federal overreach. This political conflict is more than a clash of ideologies. It is a reflection of Canada's ongoing struggle to balance national interests with provincial rights.
U.S. Cable News. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith met with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago twice in 24 hours. Writing on social media, she had a friendly and constructive conversation that she emphasized the mutual importance of the U.S.-Canadian energy relationship and highlighted how hundreds of thousands of American jobs are supported by energy exports from Alberta.
The tension began when Melanie Joly proposed cutting Alberta's oil and gas exports to the United States as a retaliatory measure against potential U.S. tariffs. This audacious suggestion sent shockwaves across the nation, particularly in Alberta, where the energy sector is a cornerstone of the economy. Danielle Smith wasted no time in responding, firmly rejecting the idea and accusing the federal government of threatening national unity. But her stance highlighted a fundamental issue: the balance of power between Ottawa and the provinces. This is not the first time such tensions have surfaced. Historically, federal policies have occasionally clashed with provincial interests, but the stakes now seem higher than ever. The Trudeau administration's approach, characterized by policies some see as overly centralized, has intensified these debates, leaving many Canadians questioning the future of the Federation.
Because you announced late in the week that you had ultimately decided, after reflecting, not to enter the race. Yeah. Is that, as you said in your statement, solely about kind of this fight against the threat coming from south of the border, or were you worried about your party's prospects?
Well, I think that I had to ask myself two questions, because I had many meetings with my key organizers, with friends, with my family, and I received a lot of support from across the country. And the first question I had to answer was, am I ready to become the first woman leader of the Liberal Party of Canada? And the answer was yes.
Cutting off exports would have far-reaching consequences, not only for Alberta, but also for the entire country. The interconnected nature of Canada's energy infrastructure means that such a move could disrupt supply chains, inflate energy costs, and harm international trade relationships. Danielle Smith has emphasized these points repeatedly, reminding Canadians that Alberta's resources are constitutionally under provincial jurisdiction. Her arguments resonate with those who believe in decentralized governance and the protection of provincial rights. For many, Smith's leadership symbolizes a resistance against federal overreach, making her a key figure in this unfolding political saga.
Canadian businessman Kevin O'Leary was there too. He says Premier Smith argued Canada's case by comparing the trade relationship to a marriage.
And so I understand marriages, they have tiffs sometimes. People, have issues in marriage, but we're long-term married, and we know we have to work this out.
Melanie Joly, once seen as a rising star in Canadian politics, now faces mounting criticism. Her recent interviews have done little to inspire confidence, as her responses often sidestep critical questions. This perceived lack of clarity has fueled public frustration and raised doubts about her competence to handle such high-stakes issues. Critics argue that Jolie's strategies reflect a broader trend within the Liberal government, a focus on short-term political gains at the expense of long-term stability. Jolie's performance has also drawn comparisons to past controversies within the Trudeau administration, where federal decisions have sometimes alienated provinces. This recurring pattern has led many to question the government's commitment to fostering unity and collaboration across Canada's diverse regions.
When it comes to becoming the Prime Minister of Canada, there are three files that are really fundamental that Canadians look at, and they will see whether that person is ready to lead the country and run the government. It's the economy, it is the Canada-US relationship, and it is national unity, including Quebec. And I know well these three files.
In stark contrast to Jolie, Danielle Smith has emerged as a strong and articulate defender of Alberta's interests. Her leadership style, marked by a firm commitment to provincial autonomy, has won her significant support within her province and beyond. Smith's arguments are grounded in practical realities, highlighting the economic and logistical challenges of cutting off energy exports. Smith's popularity stems not only from her policy positions, but also from her ability to connect with everyday Canadians. She has positioned herself as a voice for those who feel overlooked by Ottawa, particularly in Western Canada. Her strong stance against federal overreach has galvanized support and reignited discussions about the role of provinces in shaping national policies.
Isn't it possible also that change is the ballot question, given what has just gone on with the Prime Minister, with those two by-elections, with public opinion polling? Isn't that also possible?
There will be change. There will be a new leader, Rashi. So
what, real change?
There will be a real change, and that's the Liberal.
Are you sure? Because the Conservative slogan is just like Justin.
Yeah, but that's their narrative.
But it's working for them.
Well, now we have somebody that is coming in.
The conflict between Ottawa and Alberta reflects a deeper issue, the growing sense of division within Canada. While the federal government often emphasizes the importance of national unity, its policies sometimes appear to exacerbate regional disparities. For provinces like Alberta, which contribute significantly to the national economy, the perception of being undervalued can lead to frustration and resentment. This sense of division is not limited to Alberta. Across the country, many provinces grapple with similar concerns, whether it's resource management, healthcare, or infrastructure funding. The current political climate has amplified these issues, leaving Canadians wondering whether their leaders can bridge the growing gaps. The potential fallout from federal overreach extends beyond political debates. Economic consequences loom large, particularly if retaliatory measures against the U.S. escalate. Such actions could lead to job losses, increased costs for consumers, and a strained relationship with Canada's largest trading partner.
Playing petty politics on the back of Canadians. Because what we need to do right now, when it comes to Canada-US, we need to be united. We need to put the country first. Every single leader in politics right now should be putting country first.
Isn't there an argument to make, though, that the Prime Minister has not put Canadians first? I mean, ultimately, he took so long to make the decision he did.
Critics argue that the Trudeau administration's approach lacks strategic foresight, prioritizing political posturing over pragmatic solutions. This perception has eroded public trust in the federal government, with many Canadians calling for more transparent and effective leadership. Danielle Smith's influence extends beyond Alberta's borders. Her leadership has sparked a national conversation about the balance of power between federal and provincial governments. By challenging Ottawa's decisions, Smith has positioned herself as a champion of provincial rights, inspiring other leaders to advocate for their regions. In the midst of political turbulence, Canada's energy independence and economic stability have become pressing concerns. The ongoing clash between federal and provincial interests has illuminated the challenges of balancing resource control with national economic priorities. Alberta, as a province rich in oil and gas reserves, plays a pivotal role in shaping Canada's energy policies. However, recent federal decisions have cast doubt on the Trudeau government's commitment to supporting Alberta's vital energy sector.
Environment and Protected Areas, and Minister Jean, Minister of Energy and Minerals. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Only about an hour ago, Ottawa released details of its oil and gas production cap.
The idea of curbing oil and gas exports to the United States, as suggested by Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, has sparked widespread criticism. Such measures, while intended as a strategic response to external pressures, risk destabilizing Canada's energy market and alienating Alberta's leadership. Premier Danielle Smith's firm stance against federal overreach underscores the provincial government's determination to safeguard its resource autonomy and economic interests. Canada's reliance on its natural resources is deeply intertwined with its economic health. The energy sector not only contributes significantly to GDP, but also sustains countless jobs across the country. Disrupting this sector through politically motivated decisions threatens to weaken economic stability at a time when global markets are already unpredictable. The federal government's apparent willingness to use energy exports as a bargaining chip could have long-term repercussions, impacting both domestic and international relations.
Million barrels per day by 2030 and 2.1 million barrels per day by 2035, according to S&P Global. We will continue to defend our province and our constitutional rights. We will also continue to defend the livelihoods of the estimated 150,000 workers nationwide who will lose their jobs.
In this struggle for energy independence, the Trudeau government faces a critical test. Its approach to balancing federal priorities with provincial rights will define the trajectory of Canada's economy and its ability to maintain a united federation in an increasingly divided political landscape. Smith's approach also highlights the importance of collaboration and dialogue in addressing national challenges. Rather than resorting to divisive rhetoric, she has called for constructive discussions to find common ground. This emphasis on unity and cooperation resonates with Canadians who are weary of partisan politics. As the conflict between Ottawa and Alberta continues, the stakes remain high. Melanie Joly's future as Foreign Affairs Minister hangs in the balance, with growing calls for her resignation. Meanwhile, Danielle Smith's leadership has elevated her profile, positioning her as a key player in Canadian politics. The outcome of this political clash will have far-reaching implications for Canada's future. At its core, this debate is about more than just energy policy. It's about the country's ability to navigate complex challenges while maintaining unity and stability. If you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like and subscribe to our channel. Watch more videos here for the latest insights.